We are the management committee of this block of flats, said the dark youth with suppressed fury. I am Shvander. Her name is Vyazmeskaya, and these two comrades, Pestrukin and Charavakian. So we, are you the people that moved in as extra tenants into Fyodor Pavlovich Sablin's apartment? Yes, we are, replied Shvander. God, what is this place coming to? Exclaimed Filipovich in despair and wrung his hands. What are you laughing for, Professor? What do you mean, laughing? I'm in absolute despair, shouted Filipovich. What's going to become of the central heating now? Are you making fun of us, Professor Preobrazhensky? Why have you come to see me? Please be as quick as possible. I'm just going in to supper. We, the house management, said Shvander with hatred, have come to see you as a result of the general meeting of the tenants of this block who are charged with the problem of increasing the occupancy of this house. What do you mean, charged? Cried Filipovich. Please try and express yourself more clearly. We are charged with increasing the occupancy. All right, I understand. Do you realize that under the regulation of August 12th this year, my apartment is exempt from any increase in occupancy? We know that, replied Shvander. But when the general meeting had examined this question, it came to the conclusion that taken all round, you are occupying too much space. Far too much. You are living alone in 7 rooms. I live and work in 7 rooms, replied Filipovich. And I could do with 8. I need a room for a library. The floor were struck dumb. 8! Ha-ha, said the fat, hairless youth. That is rich. That is. It's indescribable, exclaimed the youth who had turned out to be a woman. I have a waiting room, which you will notice also has to serve as my library, a dining room, and my study. My bedroom, 6, and the servant's room makes 7. It's not really enough, but that's not the point. My apartment is exempt, and from our conversation is therefore at an end. May I go and have supper? Excuse me, said the fourth, who looked like a fat beetle. Excuse me, Shavander interrupted him. But it was just because of your dining room and your consulting room that we came to see you. The general meeting requests you, as a matter of labor discipline, to give up your dining room voluntarily. No one in Moscow has a dining room. Not even Isadora Duncan, squeaked the woman. Something happened to Philip Filipovich, which made his face turn gently purple. He said nothing, waiting to hear what came next. And give up your consulting room too, Schwander went on. You can easily combine your consulting room with your study. Said Philip Filipovich in a strange voice. And where am I supposed to eat? In the bedroom, answered the four in chorus. Philip Filipovich's purple complexion took on a faintly gray tinge. So I can eat in the bedroom, he said, slightly muffled voice. Read in the consulting room, dress in the hall, operate in the mains room, and examine patients in the dining room. I expect that is what Isadora Duncan does. Perhaps she eats in her study and dissects rabbits in the bathroom. Perhaps, but I am not Isadora Duncan. He turned yellow. I shall eat in the dining room and operate in the operating theater. Tell that to the general meeting, and meanwhile kindly go and mind your own business and allow me to have my supper in the place where all normal people eat. I mean in the dining room, not in the hall, and not in the nursery. In that case, Professor, in view of your obstinate refusal, said the furious Schwander, we shall lodge a complaint about you with the higher authority. Aha, said Philip Filipovich. So that's your game, is it? And his voice took on a suspiciously polite note. Please wait 1 minute. What a man, thought the dog with the light. He's just like me. Any minute now and he'll bite them. I don't know how, but he'll bite them all right. Go on, go for 'em. I could just get that long-legged swine in the tendon behind his knee. Grrr. Philip Filipovich lifted the receiver, dialed into it. Please give me... Yes, thank you. Put me through to Pyotr Alexandrovich, please. Professor Preobrazhensky speaking. Pyotr Alexandrovich? Hello, how are you? I'm so glad I was able to get you. Thanks, I'm fine. Pyotr Alexandrovich, I'm afraid your operation is canceled. What? Canceled? And so are all my other operations. I'll tell you why. I'm not going to work in Moscow. In fact, I'm not going to work in Russia any longer. I'm just having a visit from 4 people, one of whom is a woman disguised as a man, and 2 of whom are armed with revolvers. They are terrorizing me in my own apartment and threatening to evict me. Hey now, Professor, began Schwander, his expression changing. Excuse me, I can't repeat all they've been saying. I can't make sense of it. Anyway, roughly speaking, They have told me to give up my consulting room, which will oblige me to operate in the room I have used until now for dissecting rabbits. I not only cannot work under such conditions, I have no right to. So I'm closing down my practice, shutting up my apartment, and going to Sochi. I will give the keys to Shavander. He can operate for me. The four stood rigid. The snow was melting on their boots. Can't be helped, I'm afraid. Of course, I'm very upset. What? Oh no, Pyotr Alexandrovich, oh no. That I must flatly refuse. My patience has snapped. This is the second time since August. What? All right, if you like, I suppose so. Only this time, one condition. I don't care who issues it, when they issue it, or what they issue, provided it's the sort of certificate which will mean that neither Schwander nor anyone else can so much as knock on my door. The ultimate in certificates, effective, real, armor-plated. I don't even want my name on it. The end. As far as they are concerned, I am dead. Yes, please do. Who? Aha, well, that's another matter. Aha, good. I'll just hand him the receiver. Would you mind? Philip Filipovich spoke to Schwander in a voice like a snake's. You're wanted on the telephone. But Professor, said Schwander, alternately flaring up and cringing, what you've told him is all wrong. Please don't speak to me like that. Schwander nervously picked up the receiver and said, Hello? Yes, I'm the chairman of the House Management Committee. We were only acting according to the regulations. The professor is an absolutely special case. Yes, we know about his work. We were going to leave him 5 full rooms. Well, okay. If that's how it is, okay. Very red in the face, he hung up and turned round. What a fellow, thought the dog rapturously. Does he know how to handle them? What's his secret, I wonder? He can beat me as much as he likes now. I'm not leaving this place. The 3 young people stared open-mouthed at the wretched Schwander. This is disgrace, he said miserably. If that Pyotr Alexandrovich had been here, began the woman, reddening with anger, I'd have shown him. Excuse me, would you like to talk to him now? Inquired Philip Filipovich politely. The woman's eyes flashed. You can be as sarcastic as you like, Professor, but we're going now. Still, as manager of the cultural department of this house, Manager S. Philip Filipovich corrected her. I want to ask you. Here, the woman pulled a number of colored magazines, wet with snow, from out of the front of her tunic. To buy a few of these magazines in aid of the children of Germany. 50 kopecks a copy. No, I will not, said Philip Filipovich curtly, after a glance at the magazines. Total amazement showed on the face, and the girl turned cranberry-colored. Why not? I don't want to. Don't you feel sorry for the children of Germany? Yes, I do. Can't you spare 50 kopecks? Yes, I can. Oh, why won't you then? I don't want to. Silence. You know, Professor, said the girl with a deep sigh, if you weren't world famous, and if you weren't being protected by certain people in the most disgusting way, the fair youth tugged at the hem of her jerkin, but she brushed him away, which we propose to investigate, you should be arrested." "What for?" asked Philip Filipovich with curiosity. "Because you hate the proletariat," said the woman proudly. "You're right, I don't like the proletariat," agreed Philip Filipovich sadly, and pressed a button. A bell rang in the distance. The door opened onto the corridor. "Zina," shouted Philip Filipovich, "serve the supper, please." "Do you mind, ladies and gentlemen?" Silently the four left the study. Silently they trooped down the passage and through the hall. The front door closed loudly and heavily behind them. The dog rose on his hind legs in front of Philip Filipovich and performed obeisance to him. Chapter 3. Oh, gorgeous flowered plates with wide black rims lay thin slices of salmon and soused eel, a slab of overripe cheese on a heavy wooden platter, and in a silver bowl packed around with snow, caviar. Besides the plates stood delicate glasses and 3 crystal decanters of different colored vodkas. All these objects were on a small marble table, handily placed beside the huge carved oak sideboard, which shone with glass and silver. In the middle of the room was a table, heavy as a gravestone, and covered with a white tablecloth, set with 2 places, napkins folded into the shape of papal tiaras, and 3 dark bottles. Zina brought in a covered silver dish, beneath which something bubbled. The dish gave off such a smell that the dog's mouth immediately filled with saliva. "The gardens of Semiramis," he thought, as he thumped the floor with his tail. "Bring it here," ordered Philip Filipovich greedily. "I beg you, Dr. Bormenthal, leave the caviar alone. And if you want a piece of good advice, don't touch the English vodka, but drink the ordinary Russian stuff." The handsome Bormenthal, who had taken off the white coat and was wearing a smart black suit, shrugged his broad shoulders, smirked politely, and poured out a glass of clear vodka. "What makes is it?" he inquired. "Bless you, my dear fellow," replied his host. "It's pure alcohol. Darya Petrovna makes the most excellent homemade vodka. But surely, Philip Filipovich, everybody says that 30-degree vodka is quite good enough. Vodka should be at least 40 degrees, not 30. That's firstly," Philip Filipovich interrupted him didactically. "And secondly, God knows what muck they make into vodka nowadays. What do you think they use?" "Anything they like," said the other doctors firmly. "I quite agree," said Philip Filipovich, and hurled the contents of his glass down his throat in one gulp. Ah, Dr. Bormenthal, please drink that at once. Then if you ask me what it is, I'm your enemy for life. From Granada to Seville. With these words, he speared something like a little piece of black bread on his silver fish fork. Bormenthal followed his example. Philip Filipovich's eyes shone. Not bad, eh? Asked Philip Filipovich, chewing. Is it? Tell me, doctor. It's excellent, replied the doctor sincerely. So I should think. Kindly note, Ivan Arnoldovich, that the only people who eat cold hors d'oeuvres nowadays are the few remaining landlords who haven't had their throats cut. Anybody with a spark of self-respect takes his hors d'oeuvres hot, and of all the hot hors d'oeuvres in Moscow, this is the best. Once they used to do them magnificently at the Slavansky Bazaar restaurant. There you can have some too. If you feed a dog at a table, said a woman's voice, you won't get him out of here afterwards for love or money. I don't mind. The poor thing's hungry. On the point of his fork, Philip Filipovich handed the dog a titbit, which the animal took with dexterity of a conjurer. The professor then threw the fork with a clatter into the slop basin. The dishes now steamed with an odor of lobster. The dog sat in the shadow of the tablecloth with the look of a sentry by a powder magazine as Philip Filipovich, thrusting the end of a thick napkin into his collar, boomed on. Food, Ivan Arnoldovich, is a subtle thing. One must know how to eat, yet just think. Most people don't know how to eat at all. One must not only know what to eat, but when and how. Philip Filipovich waved his fork meaningfully. And what to say while you're eating. Yes, my dear sir, if you care about your digestion, my advice is don't talk about Bolshevism or medicine at table, and God forbid, never read Soviet newspapers before dinner. But there are no other newspapers. In that case, don't read any at all. You know I once made 30 tests in my clinic, and what do you think? The patients who never read newspapers felt excellent. Those whom I specially made bravada all lost weight. Rejoined Bormenthal with interest, turning gently pink from the soup and wine. And not only did they lose weight, their knee reflexes were retarded. They lost appetite and exhibited general depression. Good heavens, my dear sir. Yes, but listen to me. I'm talking about medicine. Leaning back, Philip Filipovich rang the bell, and Zina appeared through the cerise portiere. The dog was given a thick white piece of sturgeon, which he did not like. Then immediately afterwards, a chunk of underdone roast beef. When he had gulped it down, the dog suddenly felt that he wanted to sleep and could not bear the sight of food anymore. Strange feeling, he thought, blinking his heavy eyelids. It's as if my eyes won't look at food any longer. As for smoking after they're eating, that's crazy. The dining room was filling with unpleasant blue smoke. The animal dozed, its head on its forepaws. St. Julian is a very decent wine. The dog purred sleepily, but there's none of it to be had anymore. A dull mutter of voices, chorus, muffled by the ceiling and carpets, was heard coming from above. To one side, Philip Filipovich rang for Zina. Zina, my dear, what's that noise? They're having another general meeting, Philip Filipovich replied Zina. What? Again? Exclaimed Philip Filipovich mournfully. Well, this is the end of this house. I'll have to go away. But where to? I can see exactly what'll happen. First of all, there'll be a community singing in the evening. Then the pipes will freeze in the laboratories. Then the central heating boiler will blow up, and so on. This is the end. Philip Filipovich worries himself to death, said Zina, with a smile as she cleared away a pile of plates. How can I help it? Exploded Philip Filipovich. Don't you know what this house used to be like? You take too black a view of things, Philip Filipovich, objected the handsome Borman Paul. There is a considerable change for the better now. My dear fellow, you don't know me, do you? I'm a man of facts, a man who observes. I'm the enemy of the unsupported hypothesis, and I'm known as such not only to Russia, but in Europe too. If I say something, that means that it is based on some fact from which I draw my conclusions. Now there's a fact for you. There is a hat stand and a rack for boots and galoshes in this house. Interesting. Galoshes, hell, who cares about galoshes, thought the dog. But he's a great fellow all the same. Yes, a rack for galoshes. I have been living in this house since 1905, and from then until March 1917, there was not one case, let me underline in red pencil, not one case of a single pair of galoshes disappearing from that rack, even when the front door was open. There are, kindly note, 12 flats in this house, and a constant stream of people coming to my consulting rooms. One fine day in March 1917, all the galoshes disappeared, including 2 pairs of mine, 3 walking sticks, an overcoat, and the porter's samovar. And since then, the rack has ceased to exist. And I won't mention the boiler. The rule apparently is, once a social revolution takes place, there's no need to stoke the boiler. But I ask you, why, when this whole business started, should everybody suddenly start clumping up and down the marble staircase in dirty galoshes and felt boots? Why must we now keep our galoshes under lock and key and put a soldier on guard over them to prevent them from being stolen? Why has the carpet been removed from the front staircase? Did Marx forbid people to keep their staircases carpeted? Did Karl Marx say anywhere that the front door of number 2 Kalabukov house in Kristanka Street must be boarded up so that people have to go around and come in by the back door? What good does it do anybody? Why can't the proletarians leave their galoshes downstairs instead of dirtying the staircase. But the proletarians don't have any galoshes, Philip Filipovich, stammered the doctor. Nothing of the sort, replied Philip Filipovich in a voice of thunder, and poured himself a glass of wine. I don't approve of liquors after dinner. They weigh on the digestion and are bad for the liver. Nothing of the sort. The proletarians do have galoshes now, and those galoshes are mine. The very ones that vanished in the spring of 1917. Who removed them, you may ask? Did I remove them? Impossible. The bourgeois Sablin? Philip Filipovich pointed upwards to the ceiling. The very idea is laughable. Volozov, the sugar manufacturer. Philip Filipovich pointed to one side. Never, you see, if they'd only taken them off when they come upstairs. Philip Filipovich started to turn purple. Why on earth do they have to remove the flowers from the landing? Why does the electricity, which to the best of my recollection has only failed twice in the past 20 years, now goes out regularly once a month? Statistics, Dr. Bormenthal. Terrible things. You who know my latest work must realize that better than anybody. The place is going to ruin you, Philip Filipovich. No, countered Philip Filipovich quite firmly. No, you must first of all refrain, my dear Ivan Arnoldovich, from using that word. It's a mirage, a vapor, a fiction. Philip Filipovich spread out his short fingers, producing a double shadow like two skulls on the tablecloth. What do you mean by ruin? An old woman with a broomstick? A witch who smashes all the windows and puts out all the lights? No such thing. What do you mean by the word? Philip Filipovich angrily inquired of an unfortunate cardboard duck hanging upside down by the sideboard, then answered the question himself. I'll tell you what it is. If instead of operating every evening, I were to start a glee club in my apartment, that would mean that I was on the road to ruin. If when I go to the laboratory, I don't pee, you'll excuse the expression, into the bowl, but onto the floor instead, and if Zina and Darya Petrovna were to do the same thing, the laboratory would be ruined. Ruin, therefore, is not caused by laboratories, but it's something that starts in people's heads. So when these clowns start shouting, "Stop the ruin," I laugh. Philip Filipovich's face became so distorted, the doctor's mouth fell open. I swear to you, I find it laughable. Every one of them needs to hit himself on the back of the head, and then when he has knocked all the hallucinations out of himself and gets on with sweeping out the backyards, which is his real job, all this ruin will automatically disappear. You can't serve two gods. You can't sweep the dirt out of the tram tracks and settle the fate of the Spanish beggars at the same time. No one can ever manage it, doctor, and above all, it can't be done by people who are 200 years behind the rest of Europe and who so far can't even manage to do up their own fly buttons properly. Philip Filipovich had worked himself up into a frenzy. His hawk-like nostrils were dilated. Fortified by his ample dinner, he thundered like an ancient prophet. and his hair shone like a silver halo.